Composite Gloves here, and this is the 28th video in the Kontakt from the Ground Up tutorial series. And today we're going to be talking about the last part of the Waveform editor, and then we are all done with it. We've covered everything. So the last part is the sample editor. Now, this is where I prepare my samples before I put them in Kontakt, just because I prefer having that amount of attention and detail. But maybe you've got something that you just slapped in there and you're just working on stuff and you need quick ways to fix things. Well, this is what you want to do. So you open it up and you go to your sample editor. If you see we have a zone going on, no loops or anything, and we could even sync slice it. So we could do a lot with these things. So the sample editor, you could select an area of your sample by clicking and dragging. And because I have the grid on, it snaps to the grid, but if I turn the grid off, it does not snap. If I turn it on, it is still not snapped. I have to click again to snap it. So I guess I should really quick talk about destructive sample editing. So these are destructive sample edits, and you actually notice you have a redo and an undo button here, undo, redo, and they actually tell you what the last thing you did was. And I'm not sure how many steps you can go back on these, but basically what destructive sample editing means, it takes the original content and changes it permanently. It's not undoable. But what this does is it actually makes a clone of your sample content that you're changing, and it destructively edits the clone. And then from then on, Kontakt will use that clone to reference your sample. So why would you want to do that? Well, there are certain things that it's not necessary to use additional CPU and processing to do. There are going to be changes you're going to want to be permanent. But it also clones it and edits the clone. That way you can use that. You can use the originals and other instruments that use those originals. So there's that, just so you know. And if you do make clones and you're like changing things around, so clones have been made, but there's no changes in them, they will automatically delete them by itself. So you don't need to worry about redundant samples and stuff. All right, so we have a region selected. We can cut it and it just disappears like that, or we can undo that. We can crop an image, and so it'll take only the part that we've selected and zoom in there. You can copy and paste and delete and duplicate. So you see we just put 2 in there, and you can go from copy, and I believe you can go to another instance of Kontakt even and do it, but I'm not 100% sure. So, you know, but anyways, you'd want to stick in the same instrument usually, but if you do that, let me know in the comments, you know, how that works out. We have transform, and so these apply different sorts of effects to it. This is going to be a really fast tutorial. You have a fade in, applies a gradual increase. The slope, as you could see, is not all that great. There's not really a way to deal with that. You can go fade out, and it will do the opposite. You can do silence, just boom. And basically what it does is it's literally silence. It takes the bits and goes 0. And you can undo that. We have reverse, pretty cool option. That's a cool one. You have normalize. I'll probably have a DSP video on this at some point, but basically it takes the smallest peak, and if it's not at 0, it will take that to 0 and stretch everything proportionally. What the heck does that mean? 0 decibels. So if we select a sample, let's say this is our sample, we notice that this portion is not going as loud as it could go by the given bit depth, which is also covered in my DSP. So if you normalize it, boom, it'll spread it out to the maximum, and it will spread out all the softer parts proportionally. So we're taking up more dynamic range. This may be a great way to make something louder. It may not. Noise can get louder like this, but it'll only happen proportionally. So yeah, anyways, that's what normalized does. Stretches it out to the maximum range at least. And then you have DC removal, DC offset, whatever. I have a DSP video on that one, so just go check that out. Because it's really something you should know about, especially when you're recording and stuff. Then you could select your loop lengths, and you see they're changed here. You can change them by clicking and dragging, or you could double click and enter a value. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to that. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Like, comment, and subscribe, of course. And have a blessed day. Oh.